Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan, and here basically we are discussing about that Congress achievement, which basically they are telling that we have done the lots of achievement, and mostly they have done the lots of achievement also. The cricket is basically the biggest achievement. Basically, they have done the cricket achievement. They have created the entire all 22 teams in India. So that is not a big achievement. Australian team, England team, Sri Lankan team, Indian team itself, then New Zealand team, then Australia team, then Netherlands team, then West Indies team, South Africa team. So these all are achievement, right? So where they are staying basically that basically it's a government issue. Government basically that's why basically the government is government. They know basically which person is playing which role. So government knows basically which person is playing which role. So here basically we are discussing about the Earth planet basically. What Earth planet role basically it's a play he is playing. Sorry, Earth planet is he or she that basically we don't know basically whether Earth planet is he or she. So here we assume that Earth planet will not give any gender basically. So assume that Earth planet is basically Earth planet. That basically we will define basically whether the Earth planet is which gender basically which gender. So here basically now it is we are talking about the attraction basically attraction of the planets basically the attraction of the place basically. For example, the Kargil war was started between India and Pakistan. So that means the place was basically attracting going to attract in future basically when the Earth planet was going to move. That's why basically they started the war, right? They finished lots of area, lots of things basically happened. Sound was getting affected near the Indian Pakistan border because the requirement was there. The requirement of the scientist of the universal scientist was he was telling that we want this requirement, means this is our requirement, so you fulfill it. So Indian basically army group basically and Pakistan army group might have done the meeting, top level meeting basically, top level groups basically. They done the meeting and then basically they started the war. So that war basically has given war as a Kargil war. So for that basically some reason is also required. So they have given the reason also, here bomb blast happened, there bomb blast happened. So these are basically reason also they have given. But the main reason was this. Now basically we will see one dangerous topic, that is basically the attraction speed basically. This one of the scientists told that basically you have to start war between India and Pakistan on this date basically. If you are not doing the war, then basically that planets basically which is going to attract to that place basically, and due to that Indian Pakistan border basically, Indian Pakistan land basically, that set of planets are going to attract to your places. Places means entire Earth planet is going to get effect, because if big planet is going to attract, that means basically big effect is going to 100% going to affect, and it's going to affect to entire Earth planet. So here the question is, when universe, for example, in universe group basically told this 3 years before that this planet groups are going to attract, so they basically started planning 3 years before only, that after 3 years basically we have to do the war, and we are basically going to we don't need to suffer for big basically. Big means basically the Earth planet entire is not going to suffer, is not supposed to suffer. So basically they started the preparation for that basically. They need the reason also why the war is required, so that basically everybody knows basically when the war starts, how the war starts, why the things basically comes into the up to the war level. So that basically the writer of the countries basically they writes. For that basically they require, they takes lots of people also, local people basically who basically don't know anything. They use them also for the war basically. that for example India Pakistan war, in equipment basically there are lots of equipment like cricket is there, sports basically sports peoples are doing the this type of activities, they gets involved. Bollywood groups are there, they are also basically there in these things basically. So like this basically the reasons basically are done the advertisement in front of the public, and then public get attracts and public tells that we want this, they ask for demand, they ask basically for war, they only ask basically for war. Army basically don't say that we want to do the war, but they want, they know that basically war has to be happen. So here the question is basically, if by chance army don't start the war, right, assume that they have not started the war, so at what kilometer speed the planet is going to attract? If war has started and everything has finished, the area basically which was attracting that area got finished, then at what speed basically the earth planet and that planet basically which is going to attract, that basically attraction get slow and that change the direction, because the war basically the equipment basically which was used, the energy basically which was used to blast that areas, and from that basically the sound got affected and that energy basically got passed to the universe, that basically changed the direction. That also basically is the one of the reason, but mostly this is not the reason. Assume that it basically takes some equipments and satellites help basically to pass the data to that planet's area basically, so that the attraction basically will get disconnect. Now basically the question was basically, which our area basically was attracted, and due to this attraction basically how many war basically has done. World War One, World War Two, World War Three is ongoing, Kargil war was also there, China and India war is there, Pakistan has basically done lots of war. Like this basically how many war has been done till now basically. So mostly I think more than 32, 35, 33. I think war has already done in the across the world basically, more than 33 basically. So this is also basically now the attraction thing basically. Till now, history of the attractions. So now basically assume that universe group basically also was not able to track that attraction basically. Universe group basically was not able to track the attraction, and when the planets group basically came near to the planet basically, that time basically they told that the attraction is happening, do something. That time basically emergency war basically started. Emergency war is what, that is basically earthquake department basically. Earthquake department basically activated and they basically done the big earthquake, and that basically earthquake basically finished that area itself, and due to that basically few nuclear plants basically got destroyed, and in the nuclear plant basically the entire area got destroyed. So that was basically the emergency war machine basically you can say, they basically got attacked and they basically got activated. So in this basically the attraction basically was disconnected. This is also one of the reason basically few says. So for example, with this basically we have already discussed actually. Um, assume that the universe groups says that that you have to start the war you 3 4 country basically have to start the war. So what is the maximum time period they basically give? So maximum 3 year 4 year 5 year 6 years 10 years 12 years before basically they give the information that the war basically is has to start between these three countries, three or four country or five country basically. If it's a world war, then basically more than basically 10 12 country basically. So they gave basically the intimation 12 13 years before only basically. They say that do the start the war, and this would be the time period. Within this many time period, you have to start the world war. Then basically the computer companies basically, that is basically the server companies basically by default, because server companies are basically the main companies basically, you can say. Then basically the software company comes into the picture. Server companies like Dell computer have the server, HP have the server, IBM have the server, Microsoft has have the server, then basically Compaq have the server, then Unix have the server, Salesforce have the server, then SAP have the server. Like this, basically they have their own server, right? Server equal to what? Physical places. For example, Microsoft have their own server. That means physical place is basically created, right? For example, Microsoft says that we have created this all version of server. SAP says that we have created this also version of server, and then basically IBM says that we have created this whole version of server. That means physical places are created. If they say that we have launched this model number server, then that means they have created the physical places. So mostly basically computer groups might have done some error basically in this basically. They have created the space, but mostly attraction things basically they might not have taken into the picture. That is 100% sure. 100 and 200% sure. 300 500% sure basically. So basically this basically mostly basically the update sorry, the attraction part basically mostly might not have taken into the picture. So assume that they have taken into the picture, and assume that they are not taken into the picture. That basically the when the universe basic group basically will say that this area has to be finished, then basically the lots of server company will get destroyed, and lots of basically the company will also get destroyed. But mostly this will not. This will happen, and this might also have. This can happen, and this can't happen also. So that depends upon the universe movement basically, where the universe takes the movement of the earth planet, takes the direction of the earth planet. So that basically depends upon the time basically, you can say. Universe group basically give in advance that after this time basically we are going to move to this side. So according to that basically you have to prepare this whole areas. So that basically this is very dangerous basically. So all the server basically which is created by the software companies, they basically have already got the requirements. Like they blindly don't create any servers, right? They are not mad also, right? That they got in the mind that we have to prepare this type of servers. They basically never do. They basically got the requirement that this type of server. So before server basically got created, the physical areas are created. Physical areas are already created. SAP company created. Before SAP company created, the 5,000, 6,000 cities basically are created of the SAP company. So SAP designer basically, computer designer basically, they don't have to worry about thing. Why? Because their mind is going to think up to that level only. Because the area is created, that is basically 5,000 areas are created, and according to the 5,000 areas, the power company has got the power supply of the SAP company. Sorry, the SAP areas, that is basically 5,000 area. That is basically the thinking basically of the SAP. So the thinking of the SAP is already created. That's why basically the SAP company, basically the SAP employees basically, they are not going to think beyond this 5,000 cities ideas. So they are not going to think up to. That's why basically there is no need to worry about the IBM server or Microsoft server, because their thinking is already created within the cities, and that cities basically are captured by the power companies and by the energy companies, and they have captured the ideas, and that ideas are basically dumped into the company's environment, and then basically the company groups basically thinks. For example, there are conference room, right? One project is ongoing and they basically have the conference room, and according to conference room basis, in the conference room basically they think of the projects basically, then basically they know basically how they think basically. So they, that example basically I have already taken one of the TCS basically, that CRM project TCS company has got. And like this basically the CRM group basically has given this around 16 to 17 ideas, and this 17 idea basically was merged with the TCS company manager. And here basically I have taken example of TCS. It can be Accenture, it can be Patani, it can be Capgemini, it can be Nelson Group, it can be NIQ, it can be Rishabh Group, uh, it can be Patani Group. Patni is basically also one of the big group. If it can be IBM group, it can be Microsoft. Microsoft is a big company basically. So there is no need to give the name also basically. So like this basically you can just imagine basically. So the creation is basically the main thing basically. So the creation is created. So that's why basically lots of companies says that we have our Oracle company, and Oracle company says that we have not created anything yet. We have not created any physical thing. We are basically just taking from the lease basically. Lease means in rent basically. We are just taking few areas. We are just giving some rent to particular areas, and they are giving some data. Then basically the Oracle company owner basically was surprised basically when basically he heard that we have to create the physical place also. Then basically he might have started the creation of physical place also, because Oracle is so big company, so big. Sorry, it has converted to so big company that they need physical places. So they might have purchased few test cities. They might have done some lava blast in sea. They might have started creation in cities in sea also basically, according to the requirement of the Oracle basically, because the data is already with the Oracle basically. That is database, data block, data file, and data block, and data buffer basically. So like this basically the data Oracle data storing basically is one algorithm basically. So that algorithm basically need to prepare basically, but here the main thing is the energy creation basically, how they creates the energy, what they creates the energy from the uh, Oracle energy basically. Oracle basically have its own energy basically. So here the main thing is we have discussed this whole thing basically. Here the main thing which we are discussing is in this world basically, Earth planet basically physical areas basically has been attracted by the any of the planets basically. If attracted, then basically what was the speed basically, on the speed basically the Earth planet was attracted. Sorry, the Earth planet was being attracted by the other planet. Is Earth planet, the question basically say that Earth planet has been attracted ever basically by the other planets? If yes, then basically when? Because this is the very dangerous thing basically, and mostly basically uh, war basically, that is basically the normal thing now basically, which is the concept basically which we have already discussed. Now here the main thing is, for example, Earth planet says that we are going to move to that side, right? So that basically indication is given 30 years, 40 years, 50 years before only, that Earth planet is going to move to this direction. So according to that, basically they have done the preparation also, and they have told also basically that this many area has to be cleared. So according to that, basically the government to the Panchvarshi Yojana, but it's a 30 years, 30 years, right? So it's a six Panchvarshi Yojana. So six time basically the government gets changed, and that type of plan basically the government has to do. So that is basically the normal thing basically. If you are running the Earth planet, sorry, if you are running the country basically, then these all are things are normal thing basically. That basically everybody knows basically. The construction companies basically, they basically knows. The weapon company basically, they basically know, because they have to always prepare with the war basically. Why? Because whenever the planets are going, sorry, the Earth planet is going to move to the particular direction, then attraction will happen. That's basically the universal law only. Attraction is 100% going to happen. So war basically is by default going to happen. So 365 days basically war happens any of the country, because the requirement is are up to that level. So here the question is, up to what level speed basically the Earth planet was attracted last basically, and the other planets basically was attracted within the Earth planet. For example, 3000 planets basically was attracted last maximum basically, last basically assume that 200 years before, 300 3000 planets was attracted due to some reason basically. What reason basically? That might be some condition basically of the planets basically. Due to some reason basically, the Earth planet was attracted and the other planets were attracted. So last basically, what was the maximum planet? That is basically the 3000 planet. As just number, I have just taken as a number, but in real basically it might be 3 crore or 4 crore basically. So last number basically I have told that that is 3000 maximum basically planets basically got attracted last when Earth planet is moving in the universe basically. So this is also basically one of the part basically, and this basically directly connects with the earthquakes basically. This directly connects with the earthquakes. So currently basically we are actually discussing the earthquakes basically. How basically the earthquakes comes basically. We have already defined the definition that Earth planet, sorry, the Earth planet human blood groups basically are equal to magnitude of earthquake. So magnitude of earthquake basically directly connects with the earth, so with the Earth planet human blood groups basically. That blood group basically everybody know there are 22 types of blood groups basically. 12 groups are also there basically. So 22 types of blood groups in our planet is created by the set of groups basically, and they basically have basically the blood groups basically, right? So Earth planet blood groups directly connects with the earthquake magnitudes, and earthquake magnitudes basically directly connects with the Earth planet human blood group basically. Here basically the animal by default comes into the picture. Why? Because human body basically contains the animal blood group also by default basically. So this is basically a topic that is ongoing, that is the Earth planet blood group connected with the earthquake magnitude. And third thing is basically the satellites connected with this both. Satellites connected with this both basically. So this is basically the simple, as seems to be very simple topic, but it's very dangerous topic. So doctors basically here, few people says that doctor creates a blood group, but few people says that basically the people who create the cities basically they creates the blood cells, because doctor just checks the blood cells data basically, which is basically containing in the data, containing in the bodies, and that basically That is one software basically, right? For example, India blood cells, one person told that we want the entire India blood cells disease. Then how basically we can able to find out? Then basically he told that just take the blood cells of the India blood cells, and then basically just find the that software basically which is having the mapping of the entire India country basically, and just see basically where basically the diseases are there basically, where the diseases cities are basically created. That's very simple basically. It seems to be very simple, but when it connects to the blood group, earthquakes, then basically it's become very dangerous. So one person told that India earthquake basically is connected with any of the other countries basically. Then basically it's by default connected. So he told that how basically this chain is connected with the each and every country basically. One person told that basically I want the Earth planet blood cells data, because he told that I want some certain level of data basically, which basically is up to connecting up to the universe level. So he told that basically then basically we need to have the entire diagram basically. That for that basically the softwares are basically there basically who basically says that this basically this is the diagram of entire Earth planet cities diagram basically. By default, city diagram, Earth planet cities diagram is equal to Earth planet blood cells diagram. But that basically is the not accurate data basically, because satellites captures the data and then basically it sends the data to the software companies basically. But India basically don't have that software. Mostly India also might be having the software, but India only has the India's data, right? No other country basically. But if India is telling that we are investing the money to that country basically, then basically India might be having the data of that particular country also. India then basically might be having the data of that particular country also. So here basically we are discussing about the Earth planet earthquake magnitudes is connecting up to what level.